In true French car fashion, it's leaking. Well, hey y'all, welcome back to Doug's Cars. I'm here in Nashville, Tennessee on this day where it's just pouring down with sunshine, mainly rain, at the Lane Auto Museum. And this place is just going to be fantastic. I figured I'd bring it to y'all. They've got a ton of microcars, they have a ton of Tatras, and it's once again the 100th anniversary of Citroën this year, so they apparently have a lot of Citroëns on display. That's not a Citroën, but I believe it's a Panhard. This is the parking garage that's attached to the building that has regular cars like where I parked, and then cool things like that, and this giant truck, and whatever that thing is. So stay tuned, this is going to be a fun little walk through this museum. I've never been here before, and it's just going to be a good surprise for everybody, I think. So, check out the size of these tires. I mean, here's this Tatra 6x6, and here's these tires. I don't think these are going to fit any of the microcars they have here. They're massive. Y'all, I haven't even left the parking garage, and there's a Morgan Arrow in here. I don't think I've ever seen one of these in real life. It's got the headlights that face each other that make people think it's cross-eyed, but it's a Morgan. It's left-hand drive. It's got satellite radio, and it's got a Tennessee tag on it. So somebody drove this thing in here and parked it. That is really cool. You can see the BMW shift knob and the BMW turn signal stop, because I know these had BMW running gear. What a neat thing. I still haven't even gone inside this place. A Tatra ambulance. Really cool. Of course, these were rear engine, so no grille. I guess this here would be the air intake for the engine on both sides. I wonder how they managed to do that. Yep, it's raised up in the back. Pretty high there, so that they can fit the engine in underneath, and then the poor person who's being transported had to lay it at that angle. Ooh, let's see what these are. And here's a Reliant. Again, I don't think I've seen one of these in person in real life either, just on TV or when Jeremy Clarkson rolls one over. 3 wheels. I mean, 3 wheels? That's amazing. And surprisingly, not roomy inside. But it does have a wood grain dashboard. How English. This is a Regal, okay. And it's tagged, so someone could drive this. Okay, so here we just have a nice, race car on a dual axle tow vehicle. And what is the front? Oh, it's just a regular Citroën sedan with air suspension. That also happens to be a car carrier. What on earth? Oh, it's got the radio sideways between the seats and the fancy one-spoke steering wheel. But it's a car carrier out of just a regular Citroën. That's amazing. Oh my God, y'all. I don't even believe this. A Renault Avantime that is in the US. I really don't think I've seen one of these in the real life until now. Oh wow, and it's right-hand drive, so it must be from the UK. Wow. Look at that. I mean, this thing was so futuristic when it came out anyway, but it still is to this day. Wow. I mean, this collection is amazing and fantastic, and I don't even know what to say. Thanks, Sean, for telling me this was here. In case you're watching, I appreciate it. Wow. An amphicar, looks like an amphibious Corvan. And then all these micro cars. I'm sorry, y'all, it's a little overwhelming. I've got to do a lap of this place. And a Nissan Figaro. Ooh, another one I've never seen in real life. Wow. Yeah, I'm going to have to do a lap of this place and come back and hit on some of my favorite things here, because otherwise I'm going to drool over every single one of these vehicles, and this video is going to be 3 hours long. But probably deserves to be, because there's so much amazing stuff here. Oh, no, there's just a random Lamborghini sitting right there next to all of these, like a Morse Minor van. Wow, 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 wow. Okay, Nashville is great for music. This week it's really good for rain, and it's good for food, and they have a lot of nice breweries, but this is the reason to come. Mark my words now. This is the reason to come to Nashville. This place is just amazing. It's a Fiat Multipla. I think widely derided as one of the ugliest vehicles ever made, but here it is. These I have seen, specifically in Paris. I remember seeing a lot of them. Again, right-hand drive. They must have gotten a lot of their vehicles from the UK, which doesn't surprise me because used car prices in the UK are nothing. Ooh, an Alpine. And then there's like tons of Panhards. And a Peugeot 205. Wow. Alpines are back now. I don't know if we'll be getting them now that Renault has expressed interest in buying Nissan, but maybe. And then one of these, I think they're HV vans. Again, 100th anniversary of Citroën, so there's a bunch of Citroëns here specifically for that. Matra Sports. Wow. M530LX, so rear engine, of course, because it's a Matra. Tiny little interior. I bet this is a blast to drive. 1970, okay. Top speed 108 miles an hour, and I bet it feels every single one of those. That's an oval steering wheel. Well, I found a bunch more Tatras. All these crazy rear engine check. I mean, this thing is a 1938. Look at how futuristic it is. There's gigantic air scoops and amazing. Got a banjo steering wheel, and I don't think that's real wood. I think that's painted. Can't tell. I'm not allowed to touch, of course, nor do I want to. I don't want to break it, but look at that. Single central headlamp. This has obviously been in a road rally. Another huge rear engine, and it's just like 6 feet behind the rear seat full of engine. And then the more modern ones. And then this one, I definitely saw one of these in Prague in the early 90s, I think. I remember careening around the corner. Very simple dash, but with a modern Blaupunkt radio. And then, of course, you have the modern version of it with a much more modern interior. This one's a 96, so this must be at the end of production for these. Yeah, it's an injection too. I believe these were V8s. Let me know in the comments if you know differently, but I'm pretty sure these were V8s. Well, I've made it over to the Century of Citroën exhibit area. If you watch my video from Carlisle, which I'll link to on the upper right corner of the screen, you'll see a lot more of these vehicles that were there just a few weeks ago. And I know that they had a huge centenary exhibition in the UK fairly recently as well that I got to see a lot of great pictures of. But, I mean, an Ami, a DS, an SM. I've seen more Citroëns in the last 3 weeks than I think I've ever seen outside of my trips to France. Okay, no, those are not Citroëns anymore, but a Mahari. I don't think I've ever seen a Mahari before. So it says 4x4. I guess these actually were four-wheel drive. I did not realize that. Yeah, it's got a rear diff. And a Visa. I think these were like co-made with Renault. But I mean, a 1983 basically econo box. You never see these cars anywhere. That is a crazy gauge cluster, steering wheel, and what is going on there? That is amazing. That really is. A traction avant. And then, of course, the 2CV didn't come with much more than this anyway. I think this is how it came, and then you paid extra for the body. But look at that shift linkage. That is really cool. And then the C6, of course, which is probably I think their last big, like, executive class sedan, which is not as modern as you could expect for that year, but funky styling on that. Definitely a French car, not German, not American. When I was at Carlisle, I was going to meet a guy named Also, that is his online handle, Jim McGill. He always brings awesome things to the US and then sells them on, like, right-hand drive Fiat 500s, things like that. But something else he brought here was this Volkswagen XL1, which is now housed here in the Lane Motor Museum. This is the car that he drove across Europe and then brought to the US. And oddly enough, Ian Seabrook from Hubnut also got to film this car. And here I am seeing it in person, which is just fantastic. And yes, it was probably not the most fun car to drive across Europe, but it made it here. There's the relatively small interior, and it, just for size comparison, it's next to a Fisker Karma, which is a fairly good sized car, and this is tiny. And what is that Citroën over there? Okay, I've got to go see what this thing is. I'm not going to pay attention to that crazy race car thing there. What is this? It's this thing. That's an interesting exhaust pipe, and it's been chopped off really, really, really. Oh, it's an ice racer, that's why. Anyway, but back to the XL1. Definitely check out his videos on this. What a neat little car. So unusual. Car of the future, I believe he called it, maybe with a pejorative there because it didn't treat him well. I'm sorry, I'm just still so overwhelmed. I know I'm gushing, but this place is just absolutely fantastic. I mean, look at that. I guess it's a 4CV, since it's two 2CVs bolted together for the fire department. Ooh, a Baroque angle. It just caught my eye. I mean, again, how often do you see these? What a nice color blue. This was the last V8 that BMW made, I think, until the mid-90s when they came out with the E34 and E32 V8s. Ooh, an Integrale HF. Another one I don't think I've actually seen in person, only in pictures and video. They always appeared bigger to me for some reason in video, but it's really not that large of a car. Nice leather interior, those yellow and orange gauges. Really cool. And it's just across from like a Fiat Panda 4x4 or a Saab Sonnet, another Saab, an Austin, and just a random cool Volvo two-door in a very 70s color of butterscotch, maybe? With another very 70s interior. Brown. Oh wow, look at that clock down there. Man, it's got a full gauge package too. This is a really neat car. You don't really see two-door ones in that body style anymore, and you definitely don't see these. A Volvo 444. A little bit of something for everybody here at the Lane Motor Museum, that is for sure. Check out this Hillman. Apparently it was registered here in the 50s. I don't think it had that radio in it, but really neat. When was the last time you saw a Hillman? Well, for me, never. I mean, not that I'm aware of anyway. Clubman. Oh, no, it's a Traveler, excuse me. Wooden trim. Bunch of MGs. Another Auto Union. Boy, that neat color on that one. Boy, that really pops. I'm sure it's been repainted recently. They even embroidered DKW in the seats. And then we're back to the century of Citroën again. It's been really, really fun seeing all these really unusual cars in the States this last month or so. We really just don't get Citroëns in the US, and just see so many together, especially this Ami in this rather unusual shade of, I don't know, baby poo. And then another single spoke steering wheel and shifter out of the dash. Just so unusual. Cars that you just don't see in the States ever. They really like the single spoke steering wheel on Citroëns. I don't know why, but I guess it worked. I mean, it made it easy to handle, I suppose. Auto Union van. Can you imagine if Audi made a van right now? I know they're all into SUVs, but an Audi van, someone would buy it, I'm sure. Well, I reached out to Jim also on Twitter, and Twitter being what it is, he responded immediately and said that this Panda 4x4 was also his. And of course there's a newer one next to it, but yep, certainly right-hand drive. It's got an old school dial radio. Wow, even a tow hitch. I don't know what you could tow with a Panda, Probably not a whole lot. I don't think these things had that much power, but cool. And folding top. Even got a forced air induction on the hood there, right? Neat little car. I'm sure these would go anywhere off-road that a modern SUV would go, and then some. They do have a ton of these microcars here, Messerschmitts, Isettas, things like that. Fun things that Jeremy Clarkson would try to fold himself into and drive through, I guess, the Amazon headquarters now, because he wouldn't be driving through the BBC headquarters anymore. Actually, yeah, there's a Peel P50 right here on the end. Wow. Okay, that's really tiny. I'm not quite as tall as he is, and certainly not as big, but I don't know how I'd fit in that. Hilarious. Apparently the C6 was also part of Jim's entourage at Carlisle, all cars that didn't get a chance to see there, but absolutely hilariously get to see here. And unfortunately don't get to drive them, but I don't know if I would have gotten to then. But this also came, I believe he bought it in France. Yeah, it's got a French tag, and drove it back to Ireland and then had it shipped over. Fantastic. It's really fun to know the story behind some of these cars here and then see them actual in real life too. So here's an Italian-built Mini, an Innocenti. I believe these were built with Italian engines and not British Leyland engines. Again, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but it's definitely made in Italy, and it's just sitting calmly next to a 50th anniversary 911, which probably has my favorite modern Porsche feature, which is a throwback to all the old features, and that's the houndstooth interior, and it's a manual. Homer drool. Well, here's the first European minivan. I think there's still discussion as to whether this came out before the Plymouth Voyager, but in true French car fashion, it's leaking. It's sitting here in a museum leaking on a cooking sheet. That is hilarious, but this really was groundbreaking and really neat. I mean, this is an 87, but these came out in 84. I mean, you've got captain's chairs, and you can just see it's similar but different to what we had in minivans at the time. No wood grain paneling on this one, like you would have found in that Voyager. And it's very green inside. Well, I'm back in the 2CV just to film my clothes here, but man, this place is fantastic. You'd spend all day here. It's not huge, but just looking at all the cars and reading about them has just been a blast. There's so many things here that you will just never see anywhere else. And I mean that, anywhere else, let alone somewhere else in the States or somewhere else in Tennessee. It's just a blast. It's worth the like 12 bucks it is to get in, and there's a bunch of people here on this rainy day just enjoying it. A bunch of kids here having fun looking at all these crazy little cars and big cars, and I highly recommend it. If you're in Nashville, check this place out. And you know, I really appreciate all the new followers I've gotten. I love bringing all kinds of different car content to my channel. Don't worry, we'll be back to Range Rovers at some point soon. I just had to take this little vacation and get some time off and go do this. I'm still trying to get to 1,000 followers, so if you can help, that would be great, hitting that subscribe button. Otherwise, I love your comments. I love to see likes, and please share this stuff. This is my hobby, but I enjoy doing it, and I enjoy bringing these videos to y'all. I make no mistake, I appreciate everyone watching these. So thanks y'all so much for watching, and stay tuned. There'll be more good stuff coming your way soon.